Raven fan.
Okay, welcome to the inaugural first version of us being on YouTube, trying to do this. Greg, what are we drinking?
Up dog.
What's up, dog?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so dear listeners, this is a new experience for us. We don't normally go live because
you were like editing. Nice.
Yeah, no, straight up live. So welcome. One of us will probably be tweeting this out for people to come join us, but if not, it will be recorded. That's what I'm learning about YouTube, because I, like many people, have just recently learned that YouTube allows live streaming. And by many people, I mean I found this out recently. Everybody else found it out like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give or take. Okay, so
Indeed.
So for those of you who don't know us, we are Twigs, Angus, Stumpy. Nobody listened to my direction to put Twitter handles in the names, but nobody listens to me anyways. So
that's
how
true.
It works.
Why would we listen to you?
Right? Yeah, like
Good ideas.
So we are so we're here to talk about. You see that? You see that little trick that I just did on the thing? There's a ticker. No, all right.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so we're here to talk about Michigan and Michigan State, Armageddon this weekend. Hence the name of the episode. So we sort of started joking about it a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the types of insanity that would come with undefeated Michigan, undefeated Michigan State. We didn't think it would happen. It turns out that Miami football is bad. Washington is atrocious.
Washington's awful.
They're real bad.
Yeah,
and
not good.
Like when we they lost to an FCS team. No, they're worse than an FCS team. Like that wasn't a loss to a good team.
And if I remember correctly from our Pac-12 preview, for some reason, Washington was like 9.5 over/under wins this year. They were not supposed to be that bad.
Very, very bad.
And somehow they're still only the second largest shit show in college football in the state of Washington.
Yeah, that's the worst. Like, how can you as Washington State be looking at the situation like, nah, we're gonna be more of a shit show than it's funny. I had to hesitate on cursing because my wife is watching. But like more of a shit show than Washington. And Rolovich was like, hold my vaccine. Yes, I'm not going to take it. By the way, Brian Harsin, same situation on December 9th. So get excited for that, Auburn. Although, unfortunately, that does lead to another opening in the SEC, which is not great for some of us. Not great. So let's get right to it. Like I said, both teams 7-0. Actually, before we start, I wanted to say something really funny about people who don't understand Michigan State. So 3 different pregame shows are happening in East Lansing this week. Game day is on Ralph Young Field. That makes sense. Big noon kickoff is on the other side of the parking lot from the field. That makes sense. Barstool, who we have an opinion on, decided to do it in the middle of Cedar Village.
I hate them so much.
Dave Portnoy is going to be wearing a Michigan jersey because he's a Michigan grad like the rest of us.
In Cedar Village.
People don't know this. Game day only started putting up netting behind the stands because of Michigan State. Desmond Howard got cans thrown at him. Desmond Howard is a likable fellow. Dave Portnoy
is not.
So
he has okay views on pizza, but on everything else, we hate him.
So best of luck to Dave in Cedar Village.
Enjoy that, man. That's a choice.
It's a choice.
I can't wait for the behind the scenes photo where somebody leaks like the plexiglass bubble he's sitting in.
It's gonna be like what Kirk Cousins said.
I was gonna say that. Kirk Cousins COVID avoidance scheme.
Okay, so we have a preview planned. So we figured we would break this down sort of straightforward, like as opposed to doing how we normally do it with it, which is with no.
You mean just like, I don't know, freelancing it?
Yeah, I mean normally we're just like, all right, let's talk about some stuff. And by the way, I don't know. Our last episode we ended up talking for a half hour about the ACC, which nobody wants. So we're gonna try to stay on message, stay on brand.
We're staying with the game.
Staying with the game, on brand. Let's go. Keep shot.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna start with the home team on offense. I guess that
specifically their run offense, and then specifically Michigan's run defense.
Okay. So let's go. Do we want to go stats then feelings, or feelings and stats?
No, why don't we just do a mix of both?
All right. So So in terms of offense, like the highlight for Michigan State is obviously the fact that Kenneth Walker is a Heisman candidate. Not really a Heisman candidate, a Heisman finalist candidate, because a running back's not going to win the Heisman. They've made that.
Yeah. Not going to win the Heisman, but also potentially not even the best running back on the field.
You're right. Elijah Collins will be in the building. We'll talk about him later. We actually probably won't. I like Elijah a lot. He's great, but probably not going to talk about him much.
Really play.
Well, he's hurt. So the big name here is Kenneth Walker III. He's got almost 1,000 yards. I think 10 touchdowns. He's good. I mean, he's good. But the problem is, of course, when we're talking about this matchup, is Michigan State's offensive line, which of every position group that's been touched by Mel Tucker, they seem to be the one that's progressed the least. And part of that could be because it's harder to make gains on an offensive line over the course of a year.
And you can't just replace them with like a bunch of transfers.
Yeah, I mean, they have a transfer starting at left tackle, but cohesion matters more there. And their tight ends
together.
Yeah, their tight ends are a converted punter and a converted running back. So
who's like 5'8".
Yeah, I mean, like you can actually Space Coyote, who's on Twitter, he like clipped a whole bunch of Michigan and Michigan State stuff. So if you don't follow him on Twitter, check him out. He's great. But he did a whole bunch of stuff about Michigan State's tight ends. And it's a funny thing because like normally when you think of Michigan State's tight ends, it's like good blockers who can't really do so much in the passing game, like Charlie Gant or I don't know, the one who was before Trent Gillison, who's Matt Dotson or whoever, sort of corn-fed Ohio run blocking tight ends. And right now we have, again, converted punter running back. So like they can't really set the edge in a way that's like sort of a problem against a defense that is 5 across the D line most of the time.
Right.
So I think the question here is not how good Kenneth Walker III is. He's good. The question is how convinced are we that Michigan State's interior line, which is better than their tackles, is going to be able to have their way with Mazie Smith and Chris Hinton?
Mazie Smith, Chris Hinton, Jenkins. They've all gotten a lot better, which is surprising because going into the season, tackle was very much a question mark. So, I mean, we'll see. Like, I think that's a win for us.
So
But like Kenneth Walker, like I get it. However,
well, the thing with Walker is that I don't think Michigan State can be efficient against Michigan on the ground in this game. I don't see like 4 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 9 yards.
Do you see this as more of like an Indiana situation?
Which Indiana? Because
I thought that Michigan State got what, like 3.5 yards against Indiana, or is that Rutgers?
Oh, Oh, no. Michigan State did really well against Rutgers. They struggled against Indiana. But in that, so what I'm seeing here is that it's the run defense against Michigan State right now is not going to be a question of can you contain Walker to 3.5 yards a carry. It's can you contain Walker to 3.5 yards a carry and not the 40-yard scamper, not the 50.
Yeah. So that's I mean, we obviously don't want that to happen.
Well, it's an interesting thing. So Ian Boyd, who writes at MGO Blog now, I knew him from his days writing about Big 12 defenses, which LOL. But so he brought up a good point, which is that Michigan often puts Dax Hill and Aiden Hutchinson both to the field. So to the wide side of the field, to the empty side of the field. And Michigan State's strength is usually going to be, it's going to be running to the boundary, because when they have two to the wide, they like to spread people out, because the whole game in the passing game is our guys are faster than your guys and they need room to run. So it'll be interesting if Michigan adjusts. I doubt they will, because they don't want the cutback. And that's how Kenneth Walker kills you, is that cutback.
Yeah, that's how he gets his 70, 75-yard runs.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of actual rushing here, Michigan State runs on about 56% of their plays. They get about 5.1 per carry. Michigan's defense, very good. They only give up 3.5 yards per rush.
Yep.
But they are and we'll talk about this in the Michigan State rushing defense part, but they give up like people are willing to run the ball against Michigan. And so that implies a certain amount of a feeling that they can be got. And I think that a lot of that has to do with formation, because when you put 5 on the line, the theory is, from a play caller perspective, we get past the first level and you're gone.
Yeah, but that's also something McDonald's pretty good at, is disguising those coverages. So it could be just a product of the system that he's implemented. I don't know. I also don't know if I don't know. Have we faced a good rushing offense yet?
No.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Nebraska is decent.
Well, Nebraska's
they're creative.
Different.
They're not necessarily they're not good. They're creative.
The thing with Nebraska, and both Nebraska games were 3-point wins for the Michigan schools. But it's one of those things where it's I don't include Nebraska in scouting, because
in anything.
It's
they do a lot of college crap.
Yeah, it's fucking it's like that joke that what was it, that full cast joke, oh, they're just gonna do some high school shit. Oh shit, they're doing high school shit.
He just got some high school shit. Oh shit, he's doing some high school shit.
Which is and that's the thing with Nebraska, where it's I want to be able to say hey, they're a good rushing defense, and Michigan, handled it, and Michigan State sort of handled. It doesn't matter, because they're doing shit that nobody else does outside of the service academies.
Yeah,
and sort of Oregon.
Yeah,
sometimes. But so I think that the question here, the real matchup here, is not about Aiden Hutchinson, and it's not about Dax Hill. It's about game planning. It's, can Jay Johnson keep Kenneth Walker away from the stars of the Michigan defense? Because I do think that the tackles, as much as they've progressed, I think that they can be had. So if are you throwing
possible?
a ball to a dog?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. They were both 5 stars.
Yeah, but who cares?
No, obviously who cares, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's the question is Chris Jenkins is what, a true freshman, first year on campus?
I think so. Yeah, he's not the one that I'm saying would be the difference maker. It's Mazzy and Chris Hinton. Right,
and the question is also are the linebackers as good as they need to be? Because it's what the linebackers here are Josh Ross and upside down question mark.
No. I mean, it's Josh Ross, Junior Colson, who, I mean, he's a freshman, but he's Devin Bush freshman. He's really good. And then there's Hill Green, who's fine. Again, like another position group that was a question mark going into the season, but have progressed really, really well. So
yeah, and look, like neither team coming into the season thought that they were going to be 7-0, because if you thought that you were going to be 7-0 at this point in the season, you'd be lying. Like I think like on our very, very homerish podcast, both of us had both of these teams at like 5-2, 6-1.
Yeah.
Like even in our wildest stupidity, we weren't like, oh, it'll be fine.
I talked myself into 8 wins, and you were like, Michigan State is not going to win more than 6 games.
And I was wrong. I think what I said was 7 with a bowl game.
Yeah.
Which
that sounds like the exact quote.
Still on the table. We'll see. So I think that the question here is, you know, does Michigan State keep Walker away from Hill and Hutchinson? And if so, and if so, what does that look like? So Angus, you give that to Michigan. Stumpy, what are you thinking?
Well, hang on. I don't give it to Michigan because Kenneth Walker III is like really, really good. As much as I like want to poke fun like and say like, hey, haha, he's a Heisman candidate, but we've got 2 of those. He's really, really good. He's easily the best Michigan State running back that we've faced since Le'Veon, and Le'Veon was terrifying. So,
you know what's
I don't know. I know you think he's better than Le'Veon was at Michigan State. I get it.
I actually think that the best running back Michigan State has ever had against Michigan is Edwin Baker. Edwin Baker, because for some reason in that game he turned into Superman. And like,
I remember.
If you look at his like yards per carry against Michigan and literally everybody else, it's like,
was that a Brady Hoke game?
Edwin Baker was there from 2009 to 2011.
Oh, so Rich Rod and Brady Hoke, just as bad.
Yeah. But year 1 of Brady Hoke, his final year at Michigan State was the Bumblebee uniforms versus the Pro Combats.
Bumblebee uniforms. I don't miss those. Those were bad.
They were bad. That was the morning I got into law school. Anyways, so I guess the question there is, and I think that it's like all of this. I think that we're going to say like probably small advantage to the defense, but who knows?
Yeah, small advantage to the defense. Who knows? It's even money also because like you're at home, so I don't know, whatever.
And also like it's not the D'Antonio era where there was legitimacy to the theory that D'Antonio held shit back to use it against Michigan. Like his scripted drives against
an entire game, do you?
Like he scripted drives that were like, holy shit, that was cool. Where was that last game?
That we have not seen that before. We're not going to see it again, are we? Until next year.
And I don't think Mel Tucker is as D'Antonio-esque
on Michigan and solely on the Michigan game and destroying us.
Yeah. So it's we'll see what happens. I mean, they came out with a great game plan last year.
Last year, yeah.
Which was simply
throw to Vincent Gray.
Y'all can't stop him. So
Rocky Lombardi is now Tom Brady. What? No, he's just throwing to the cornerback who can't play football.
Yeah, and like I mean, strictly speaking, like if the theory is again throw it deep to one-on-ones, I like Michigan State's odds because Michigan State's wide receivers are.
Are we talking about the pass offense now?
Yes, see, that was a transition. That was a segue.
That was a good transition. Good job.
Good transition. So
professional live podcast.
So the Michigan State passing game, it broke down a little bit against Indiana because of but in ways that it shouldn't have. And the reason I say that is because the first deep shot that Michigan State took, it connected on, Reed just dropped it. And I think that if they hit that pass, that game's not close because I don't think that Indiana really was going to stick around unless Michigan State gave it to them, and they sort of did.
Yeah.
But
so I think our corners have gotten a lot better. I really, really hope that McDonald doesn't leave them on an island. I don't think that he will. He hasn't really been doing that this season. And also like this is really where Dax Hill and Hutchinson are going to potentially alter the game.
Yeah,
your offensive line, like your theory and like questioning whether your offensive line is going to hold up. This is where like I think we talked about earlier in the week. If we give the QB time to throw, that's going to be bad. But like, is he going to get that time to throw? I don't know, because Hutchinson is a top 5 pick. So
yeah, there was that statistics showing. I forget who had it on Twitter. Or something like Peyton Thorne is like the 7th best quarterback in the country if he has more than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. And he's like 113.
Yep.
This entire game is going to come down to how much pressure can you put on Peyton Thorne. Because if you give him enough time, he's got 2 guys that are fast AF, and he's going to just carve that secondary up.
Yeah. So
Dax
something
can only cover so much ground.
And the thing is,
on an island, see ya.
Yeah. And the thing is that Dax Hill, because of the way that he impacts the running game, and they need him to. They need him in the running game. He's going to be on Trey Mosley the entire game, the 3rd receiver.
I don't know about that.
If you put Dax Hill on the outside, it's an automatic run check. It's an automatic run check. It's automatically we're going split zone away from Aiden Hutchinson, and we're going to get 6 yards.
Yeah.
So if you put Dax Hill on the outside and you say, okay, we're going to take away Reed. Well, okay, you've given up him as a run defender. And oh, by the way, there's the other guy who's really freaking fast on the other side.
Does Reed ever line up inside?
No, almost never.
Okay,
they both play pure outside receivers because the offense is geared towards fly routes. And it's almost like how we would create an offense like in video games. It's like, what's our passing offense? We have 2 guys who are 96 paces. Just fucking send them deep. Like, I don't know. Fucking whatever. And Trey Mosley is
the Matt Stafford when he was mic'd up with when Calvin Johnson was still playing. He goes to the huddle. He goes, "Okay, Calvin, go deep. Everybody else, ready, break."
I mean, it's like that's
the way, man.
It's sort of the offense. It's sort of like if we have enough time for those 2 to get into a foot race at 40 yards, they'll win.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a corner, including Miami, who could stay on top of them. And I don't think that anybody on Michigan's secondary outside of Hill can. But the thing with Hill is that if you're going to take him, 20 yards outside of the box, like, I don't think that they're going to be successful.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's going to come down to the cornerbacks being in position.
It's not. It's
not.
Going to be.
It's going to be purely based whether or not Peyton has time to throw.
Right.
And so, I think most times he's not. And the times that he does have time to throw, is he going to get it there?
So the question I have, and I think the actual debate here is not like are Reed and Naylor going to cook Gray and Green? They are. And it's not really if Peyton Thorne is going to have enough time. He's not. The question is can he create more time? Because he does have a little bit of burst to him. And so if he's
does he?
Yeah. So that was the reason that he won the job, is the theory. It's not because he has a better arm. He doesn't have a better arm than Russo.
Yeah, he can add a little bit to the offensive line,
right?
Because the offensive line isn't going to hold up, so he's just going to scramble out of the pocket.
Right. It's so the theory is that like if Hutchinson has to turn at 7 instead of 5, the traditional thing is you have to turn at 5 yards. If you turn at 7, and look, that's a big ask. If Michigan State's D-line can get him that, then Thorne can step up, and then it's can he make Josh Ross miss? Can he get outside of the pocket? And I think I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe.
Yeah, if it's down to Josh Ross, then he's going to make a miss.
Yeah,
I love Josh Ross. He gets the team into position. He is not athletic. He's way more athletic than me. I'll give him that, but
I would hope so. It's like we've gotten to a point in our lives where I hope he's more athletic. I think he's more athletic than me is not like a good thing anymore. It's not like former high school starting varsity player Stumpy. It's now like 31-year-old adult who hurt his knees on his walk with the dog the other day.
Yeah, man.
So in terms of like the fancy stats here, Michigan State is actually pretty efficient passing the ball. Their pass efficiency is 16th. They're getting 8 point something yards per attempt. And generally the theory is that above 8, good, between 7 and 8, fine, under 7, bad. Yeah. And so Michigan State's at like 8 point something.
I don't want to talk about where we're at.
It's not great. We'll get there. It's not great.
We will get there.
But Michigan's passing efficiency defense is actually very good. It's 22nd. And passing yards per attempt against for Michigan is 6.2, which means they turn every quarterback they face into a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, we've faced
bad quarterbacks, yes.
one pretty good. I think Martinez is pretty good.
Oh,
like Nebraska as a whole.
That's the hill you're willing to die. Come on, really, Adrian Martinez?
He's pretty good.
That's the hill. That's the hill.
He's not Taylor Martinez, which is still my favorite throwing motion of all time. Adrian Martinez.
500.
That YouTube video
I gotta
still
tell
gets
you,
me.
Yeah, his like just from like a baseball perspective, his launch angle and speed, like I mean, he's going yard. So the in total, the Michigan defense is good. Like they are a good defense.
Yeah, man. That's why I got the cap on.
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald.
Wait,
I may fail to hire
a crappy pianist named Mike McDonald.
Yeah, man. I think he was the lead singer of the Doobie Brothers. We've also made this joke before.
Sure have. Thank you, Stumpy. So I think in a debate between Jay Johnson and Mike McDonald, because we can only have names that have the same letter as the first name and the last name for reasons that are unclear to me. I think it'll be interesting. I think that that the Michigan defense actually sets up to stop Michigan State pretty well. You know, the five across, you have one-on-ones on the offensive line. You're going to need a tight end who can block, which you're going to need a running back who can step up in protection, which Walker is good. He's not great at that. Like, he's not a great pass protector.
Interesting. I didn't know anything about his blocking.
He's fine. He's not great. It's not why he's here. We talk on this podcast about in the soccer section, football section, about like you need to be good at your job before you can be good at the ancillary job. And Kenneth Walker is really, really good at his job. So the ancillary job is like, is it that important? I don't know. We'll see.
We can scheme around this. We'll be fine.
Right. Matt Turner. So anyways, Michigan SP Plus has them as the 8th best defense, but that has preseason adjustments. So but they are giving up only 14 points per game, which is second in the nation, to a certain Death Star down in Georgia.
We're not going to talk about that Death Star.
Nope.
You'd probably take that as a compliment.
They would.
They would.
I know we're talking about like a specific game here, and Cocktail Party is going to be a bloodbath, but seriously, Georgia is so freaking good. Like, I don't like to be serious about how good other teams are, but they are so freaking good.
Yeah, that defense is terrifying.
Yeah, they're amazing.
It's like they're an example of a team where it's like people are like, oh well, let's see if the offense can pick up the slack. It's like there is no slack. There's no slack to pick up. They need to show up, and like they're fine. But so
9 points per game or something, right?
6. They are less than a touchdown and extra point per game against
Just
FBS.
wait until Alabama hangs like 50 on them.
I don't know.
I don't believe that, but I truly believe that Nick Saban lives to terrorize his former assistants.
Jimbo Fisher says hi.
I know.
Hey, finally, they got one.
Yeah,
they got one. They got one.
Team.
The only one. And guess what happens to Jimbo Fisher next year?
LSU jump.
LSU.
So anyway, so I think in sum, the Michigan State offense, like it's sort of like obviously, but it's a big play. Like they need to hit probably 3 or 4 big big plays, and I'm not talking like 20 yards.
Yeah,
I'm talking
but
like
and again, those are plays that the Michigan defense is designed to not give up.
right.
McDonald built this defense to be bend, not break, and like the whole idea is like we don't give up those big plays. We can give up the small plays, the big plays. No, we're not doing it.
You sound you're doing it. We don't give up those big plays.
I hate that you can see me.
You need to know, Angus.
So I think in some, like, if I had to, like, and we'll talk about this sort of in the total recap, but I think Michigan State probably is looking at this game like, what, 28 points wins it, 25.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't think either offense is looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to drive down the field 4 times.
Yeah,
because
probably.
because Michigan likes to shorten games. Like, make no mistake, both of these teams want to be there to be few drives. So I don't think either team is looking at this game like we're going to get 11 shots at that. I think that like 5 drives a half, 4 drives a half, maybe
something like
that. So it's about efficiency, and I think with Michigan State, they're happy to go 3 and out 3 times a half. You know, if they can hit 2 deep shots.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying, like, if Michigan State scores on 2 out of 5 in both halves, 28, okay. And I think that's sort of the magic number. So
yeah. It was at 51, so that'd be a 27-24.
Right. There you go. So I guess so moving on to the Michigan rush offense.
The Michigan rush offense. It's good. I think that this is the best duo of Michigan running backs since
Denard Robinson and Fitzgerald Toussaint.
I mean, yeah, sure. I'll give you that. I mean, Denard did not throw the ball well, but he was an electrifying runner.
Sure was.
No, like I honestly, this is the best duo of running backs I've seen since I like started following Michigan football. They're that good. And I mean, let's save it for the Michigan passing offense part of this. How good they are this game. Like, the offensive line obviously matters, but we were down 2 guards last game, and I honestly hope that they do play. But if they don't, like, I don't know if it'll have that much of an effect on our rushing offense, but it might. We'll see. And that is kind of a question. So.
Yeah, so the most interesting stat I saw about Michigan State's rushing defense is not that they're only giving up 3.3 yards per carry, which is phenomenally good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, nobody rushes the ball on Michigan State. Michigan State is number 1 in rushing attempts against as a percentage by like 15%.
I mean, we'll come back to the theme of the day. What rushing offense has Michigan State played?
I mean, Nebraska runs the ball.
We just talked about this.
No, I'm not saying they're good. No. The issue is not their ability or their effectiveness or their translation. The issue is that how often were they rushing the ball? And people don't run on Michigan State. And I wonder how much of that is stereotype. Because during the D'Antonio era, it was like, you're wasting a down. Like, don't run the ball. It's a wasted down. Just throw it.
I mean, your D tackles are still really, really good. And again, like, that's
where I'm going.
I honestly think that the game is going to, at least like Michigan offense versus Michigan State defense, that part of the game is really going to come down to like how well our interior line does against your tackles. Because if your interior line is getting through, then like we're not going to be passing the ball because we just also don't really pass the ball. But if they get through, then Corum and Haskins are going to have to like create some magic on every single down instead of like occasionally. Right? Yeah.
So the Michigan State D tackles, like you said, they're good. They're D'Antonio D tackles. Like the group is Jacob Slade, Simeon Barrow, Maverick Hansen, and a fourth one whose name I'm not. Oh, Deshaun Mallory. And they're without their coming into the season the number 1 D tackle on the team, who's Jalen Hunt, which I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know what his injury was. It wasn't season ending, but we haven't seen him in like 5 weeks. Jacob Slade, who I was always like, we'll see what happens with him. Sort of run of the mill, nothing 3-star from Ohio that D'Antonio plucked because that's what he did.
And now he's
real
good.
deal, real deal. Like as good as senior Panashuk, and we'll talk about junior Panashuk in a second, but as good as senior Panashuk was as a senior, and he's a redshirt sophomore. The kid is good. And Barrow, I think he's still young, but he's like to homeless man's Maurice Hurst, if that makes sense.
All right. I mean,
I said homeless.
I struggle to like compare anything to Mo Hurst because he was just
what I mean. What I mean by that is really good first step and an ability to control the guy in front of him. He's not an All-American who's going, first round until he has a heart issue. Like, but like we're talking about someone who I think will progress into becoming a very, very good D tackle down the road. But like you said, I mean, Corum and Haskins and the entire Michigan offensive line, for that matter, are for real. And Michigan runs the ball on 66% of their downs. Michigan State gets run against 19% of the time. One of those numbers is going to shift.
That's something to think about. The other thing I do want to put out there is like Harbaugh doesn't usually save things for the Michigan State game. I don't think McCarthy will have the green light to throw. I do think he'll be put out there for a lot more read option, which like that does change things for the Michigan offense. It does, because like I think the biggest problem with our run offense is that Cade just doesn't he isn't fast. So it would make sense for him not to hand off at the mesh point. But like
he doesn't even threaten it.
No, he doesn't. Like I don't think he's. I think he's kept it once this season, maybe twice, from what I can remember. But like that like really changes things. It would open up the offense a lot more for an offense that's already doing like pretty decently.
And I mean, Dabo Swinney, we're a professional podcast here. Dabo Swinney, he used to say that like he didn't run Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson, or I don't know if he was there with Taj Boyd. I guess he probably was.
Yeah, he was.
I think he was.
Yeah. He used to say, like, I run my quarterback in games I need to win because you need to. Like, it's a necessity. So I think that JJ McCarthy is an interesting aspect of this game. I'm shocked that he didn't play more last week.
I am. Well, I'm actually not shocked because I don't know. We obviously like we text during the games and I'm like, put in McCarthy. I want to see McCarthy. But at the same time, like you see McCarthy and then you're like, oh.
Well, we'll talk about that in the passing offense.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in the passing offense. But there's a very strong reason why he doesn't play.
Yeah. And so the other thing about Michigan State's defense, something that's changed from the D'Antonio era, which makes it a little more susceptible to runs, although the stats don't bear it out, is it's not quarters anymore. So like there is a little bit more safety deep. So you don't have like how Michigan State's defense used to be like legit 9 in the box because both safeties had run fits and you were like, I can't. And
it was by design, like you just didn't put the safeties back.
Yeah, it was like, fuck you, go over the top. Don't curse. But the Tucker and Hazleton defense is like it's a little more bendy, and by a little more I mean a lot more.
Yep. Got to find the soft spots.
so it'll be a question. It'll be a question of whether or not because the real issue here is not whether Michigan can get 3 yards every single time, because I think with Haskins they can, and I think Corum has really gotten rid of that thing in his head that makes him go backwards and lose 5 yards when he could get 2.
Yep. He just goes forward and then he does like the twitchy dance thing and somehow like he makes someone fall over and he gets 2 extra yards.
Yeah, and I mean they're both very good at the hitting yardage, like the extra 2 or 3. The question is can Michigan State keep those to 5-yard gains and not 15? Because that's where Corum and Haskins kill you. Is, you have them back at, like, let's say Michigan State flips field position in a way that they've been able to do this season. And suddenly, Michigan's at the 10, and then boom, they're at the 35. And you're like, well, okay, well, now it's a completely different field position thing. Yeah. So it's not, I don't think that Michigan State is going to keep Michigan to 3 yards per carry. I don't think that Michigan State's rush defense is that good. I do think that the game here is, can you keep Michigan from dominating on the ground? Because that brings us to the next question.
The passing offense.
Right.
Oh,
so before the season, I said on this podcast, not the live version, not the video version, but the other version that will be back soon, I promise. Is that
a threat?
It is.
It'll be back soon.
Yeah, we're coming. So the thing was that I said was, I don't know if Michigan's wide receivers are good enough beyond Ronnie Bell.
It's not the receivers.
It takes two to lie, right?
It's not the receivers. The receivers aren't stellar. If Ronnie Bell, a healthy Ronnie Bell would help basically any team in FBS. He's really, really good. It's not the receivers. The issue, especially last game, is that if you look at just the deep shots, Cage's just not putting the ball in the right place. He's putting the ball in the place where the receiver barely has a chance to catch it. If you look at the deep shots, there's an entire half of the field where on a deep shot, you want to leave it a little bit short and then a little bit outside so that the receiver can adjust to the ball at a place where the cornerback can't get to it. He's not putting it there. That's consistent with almost all of his passes. So it's a Cade thing. It's not the receivers. The receivers actually do a pretty decent job with their routes.
So I think the Cade thing is, we've talked about Cade McNamara being a deficiency, and the just to sing his praises a little bit. The reason I think that Harbaugh likes him so much, the reason I think that he is still QB1 and will be for the foreseeable future, is he doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Sack percentage, Michigan is first in the country in sack percentage given up. He only gets sacked on 1.8% of his dropbacks. That's insane.
I think he's gotten sacked. I can remember 2 sacks this season.
That wouldn't shock me.
And one was last week where Filiaga didn't ID his safety blitz, but also that's speaking from a stupid fan perspective. That dude just came out of nowhere. It really isn't on the offensive line. Also, that's supposed to be a QB thing. The QB is supposed to look at the safety and say to Filiaga, hey, look for that guy. Because otherwise it's just a split-second decision, right? Filiaga's just doing his job.
Right. Or he the quarterback needs to understand that it's a hot read and he needs to get rid of the ball quick.
Yeah. That was just a sack. It
happens.
Yeah, that happens.
But the point is that you can remember the sacks that have happened. Cade McNamara does not take sacks. He does not turn the ball over. He's not effective, but he doesn't need to be. So from a certain point
with
of view,
a running game like ours, he doesn't really need to be that much more than what he is. He does to win the bigger games.
Well,
it's just a big game.
His job is to not turn over the ball because the running game will get you there.
Yep.
And so I think the question is, and it goes back to the rushing defense or the Michigan running game versus Michigan State's rushing defenses. Can Michigan State put Cade McNamara in a position where he needs to win a game? I don't think he can do it. 6.2 yards per attempt is not good. And Michigan State's defense is 6.1 yards per attempt against. I don't think, and what Michigan State's secondary did to Jack Tuttle and Indiana 2 weeks ago was a masterclass in bend, don't break. They let him throw 52 times for 195 yards. Do you know how hard that is? And I don't say this lightly. I think that many members of this podcast could throw 52 times for 195 yards. It's not that hard.
I definitely could not.
If you throw to the running back every single time, you might get there. Like that's how impressive what Michigan State's passing defense did. The question is can Michigan State's corners and safeties and linebackers avoid the analogy is like when you're on the highway, what's it called? Like when you're on the highway for like a whole bunch of time and you just get bored, so you
disassociate.
Yeah, like you're just like and like you have that moment where you're like, wait a minute, like and I think that might happen to the Michigan State secondary where it's like I haven't done anything in 7 plays.
So the other thing that I'm like a little bit interested in, Cade's deep ball was a lot better earlier in the season. Like he was putting like I was talking about before, he was putting it in that part of the field where his receivers were able to adjust the ball and catch it. And I wonder if it's just like a couple of week thing or if this is like who he actually is. I don't know. But if there's like 1 week to figure it out, this is it. So,
yeah, I mean, this is the question is like, is Cade capable? And I don't know. I mean, Michigan State's secondary has gotten a lot better as the season. Yeah, I know. I agree.
Stump's face. It's like nah.
But I think Michigan State secondary has gotten a lot better as the season has progressed. I think that Xavier Henderson is a Sunday player. Angelo Gross, who's got the best nickname that I'm aware of in college football.
I don't know. Kool-Aid's pretty good.
Kool-Aid is pretty good, but Sugar Weasel is very funny to me. Because it's so forced and it's so funny. Yeah. But really what I'm interested in is I actually think the biggest matchup here is going to be, it's not going to be wide receivers against corners. It's going to be Eric All versus Darius Snow and Michael Dowell. So tight end versus star / viper / bandit / whatever you call that person.
Is he good?
There's 2 of them, and like they're good-ish. But the question, because I think that the way that Cade is effective in this game is hitting Eric All for 12 yards.
Yeah, as his check down, which
and not even as a check down, as his like
pre-snap read that he never comes off of.
Right, and it's like, look, like I'm gonna hit a tight end on a intermediate route out, like it'll be there. It's is he going to hit it and can he hit it? And I think that's going to be the game, because I think if Snow and Dowell get their hands on a couple of them, you could see that Cade get a little skittish. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see. So in terms of special teams, I want to point out the SP Plus. SP Plus is obviously Bill Connolly's system. He's at ESPN. He refuses to come on this podcast, but we desperately would like him to.
Come on the podcast.
Do it. So Michigan's special teams in SP Plus is 3rd in the country.
Yeah.
Which is really, really impressive. But you know what is Michigan State?
Second.
They're 69th. The functional difference in that is about the functional difference in that from an SP Plus perspective is about like half a point per game. So it's not like special teams matters, but in this system, like the difference between good and mediocre is not huge.
I will say, like, we make like one good play that affects the game like once every 2 games or so.
That makes sense. And Moody, I think, is a good kicker. Matt Coughlin for Michigan State has turned into a very plus kicker out of nowhere, sort of.
It's a little gremlin.
Yeah, looks great. Yeah. Looks great. But some stats for you. Yeah. So some stats for you is the only interesting stat, like in terms of like difference between one and the other. Michigan is really, really good at kickoff defense. They're second in the country. Michigan State's 38th in kickoff returns. I don't know that that's going to be a huge win for Michigan State. The problem for Michigan State is that Naylor and Reed want to bring the ball out. So I think that could be like a pretty big win for Michigan, like steal like 6-7 yards per kickoff. And when you're starting at the 18 instead of the 25, like it does matter and it does add up.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, the one that I think is the most interesting, is Michigan State is the best punt returning team in the country. Michigan is the 42nd best punt return defense in the country. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Michigan State has brought two punt returns back for touchdowns, and almost brought back a third. So
I don't recall our punt return defense being bad.
It's
like,
mediocre.
There's nothing special. Well, I mean, except for that one time we had the block, but like I don't know. Like there's nothing like spectacular that stands out to me. Like we haven't given up any like significant yardage. It's
just one of those things where it's like that is a place where you could see a game be broken by Michigan State. If Michigan State can get points off of special teams, I think that could flip the game in a way that we don't necessarily see.
That's also like that's usually like how these games go. So
turnovers and special teams.
Yeah.
Big Ten.
Big Ten.
So coaching and intangibles, I think, are sort of the same thing, because I think the intangibles here are which coach needs this more, which team needs this more, which program needs this more, who is sort of coming into this game needing it.
Who wants it more?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is going to really turn into a grit fest. But I think an interesting thing about this year is usually like there's a narrative, right? Like last year it was like Mel Tucker, new coach, the D'Antonio era was special, but is Michigan State back to normal? And the answer is normal is D'Antonio era. And for a couple of years with Harbaugh, it was like Harbaugh can't beat his rivals. And so I think this year it's weird because it's like, there's a certain point of view that says neither Harbaugh nor Tucker are in these jobs next year. If things go exceedingly well, or I guess if the wheels come off from the last 5 games, that would be pretty funny.
That would be interesting.
Not Tucker. If Tucker goes 7-5, he's not going anywhere. But if Harbaugh goes 7-5, and
Harbaugh goes 7-5, loses the last 5 games, that would be the seat would get hot again.
he's not making it to the Alamo Bowl that Michigan is going to.
Yeah, seriously.
I actually don't think Big Ten teams go to the Alamo Bowl anymore. Yeah. Anyways, but I think that like it's a situation where both of these teams are coming off of really bad years, and for different reasons want to establish themselves. I mean, make no mistake, Harbaugh was out. Like he had his contract reconstructed and reconfigured so that they could fire him. Yes. And Tucker is coming in. This is his first real program build, right? He was at Colorado for a year. That wasn't a build. This is his first chance to show that he can do it at a big boy level. Now, does that mean that I think he's going to leave? No, I do think that it means that he's going to make Michigan State pay up. But I think it's like for both of these schools, I think that, if you look at 10-0, right? Because I think both of these schools have 2 games after this that are relatively easy. When does Michigan play Penn State?
I think it's in 2 weeks.
Okay, so
yes, it's in 2 weeks because next week is Indiana. I'm going to that game. Yes.
So you could have both of these teams staring at 11-1 because nobody's beating Ohio State.
No.
But does an 11-1 Michigan sneak into the playoff? I don't know. Does an 11-1 Michigan State with like you can talk yourself into a lot of good things happening if you can get on the other side of this game. So I don't think that there's an intangible win here. I think Michigan State. What?
They can't both be 11-1. One of them has to be 10-2.
No, what I'm saying is that like if you win this game, you're looking at 11-1.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I like how this podcast is just like nobody's beating Ohio State. It's fine. But
hey, it could happen.
I think that like okay. But I think like the ultimately
earlier parts of the year, but then we let them get confidence. Now everybody's screwed again.
Yeah.
That's our real downfall.
Yeah. I think the ultimate like intangible here is Michigan State at home versus honestly like Harbaugh's Harbaughness. Like I don't like I think that he needs this game for a lot of reasons. I think that losing this game would be very, very difficult for him because I think that if he drops 2 straight to Mel Tucker, the way that Tucker is recruiting, Michigan State with recruiting ability is a very scary place. And Michigan's big advantage is that they can out-recruit them. But if Tucker beats Harbaugh twice, then suddenly, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I buy that. I don't think it's like a killer. I think if you like lose in heartbreaking fashion, like we did to Ohio State, on the the yard,
you don't want to mention trouble with the snap.
Yeah,
I really don't. I really don't.
Well, the ball is free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Picked up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Filing his own little screen. My stapler. I need my stapler.
I lost my train of thought.
That's
so much.
So I think ultimately like that's the point. I don't think that this is a backbreaker for either coach.
No. I mean, this is a game that like you obviously like Michigan definitely wants to win because going 11-0 into the Ohio State game, even if like don't stand a chance to win that game, going into that game with confidence and like an undefeated record, like I think that gives the team a little bit more of a chance.
I have to bring this up because I teased it on Twitter and I meant to do it in the beginning, but I forgot because I'm very professional about these things. But I have to explain my country club theory of Michigan State versus Michigan, Ohio State, because people have brought up like we were joking earlier in the week. Oh, it's hate week. And someone said like, oh, is that like a thing? Like I thought that Michigan hated Ohio State. And I developed a theory in my years growing up around Michigan fans and also being in school at Michigan. And when you talk to Michigan fans and you ask them, what record do you want Ohio State to be when you play them? The answer is always 11-0. We want them at their best. You ask Ohio State fans, oh, we want Michigan 11-0. We want them to be good. The game has to matter, blah, 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 blah. You ask fans of Michigan what they want Michigan State's record to be when they play, and it's winless. I want them to never win another game ever. Salt the earth. And Michigan State fans are the same. And so I think, so like as much as people talk about like, oh, the game, the rivalry, I have a sneaking suspicion that especially in the last, 17 years? When was the last time Michigan beat Ohio State before 2011, 2004?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the last 17 years, but really let's say the last 10, it's not a rivalry with Ohio State. Because nobody's rivals to Ohio State. It's not a dig at Michigan. Nobody can look Ohio State in the eye. I mean,
it's a historical narrative that we're rivals with Ohio State.
Right. And that's fine. But the fact of the matter is that it goes back to what I said. I truly believe that Ohio State Michigan is a country club rivalry.
It probably used to be that there probably used to be a lot of Michigan residents and Ohio residents that would trade places and go to the schools. That doesn't really happen anymore. Half of my high school friends went to Michigan State. Thus, do I have a stronger quote unquote hatred for Michigan State? Yes. Because I have a lot of people who I can talk crap to.
Right.
I don't have any Ohio State friends I can talk crap to. I have a hatred for Ohio State because that's how I grew up. I don't like Ohio State. That's it. And that's a stupid reason. That's very stupid.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually probably a good point because when Michigan loses to Ohio State, you're not getting 15 text messages. When Michigan loses to Michigan State, you turn off your phone. I mean, I don't want to deal with it. Like, I remember like if Michigan, like when Michigan lost on the trouble with the snap, you were in my apartment.
God.
Yeah. And like
we were on a delay.
Yeah, we were. But like the point is that like we were watching that game together because we're friends and able to do that. You had to sit there and watch me cackling. Like, and I felt bad.
You handed me the most disgusting bottle of bourbon too. It was just like a handle. I don't even know what it was.
It was Eagle Rare. You were just very, very bitter.
Oh God. And I was like ready to like hand you the bottle too, because that was the punishment for losing the game.
Sure.
And then you just like handed it right back to me. And I'm like, oh God.
So speaking of bets on the game, I'm going to share my screen now because I learned how to do this. And we have decided that we have a bet. It is the Michigan Paul Bunyan Trophy.
The most ugly trophy. Actually, second most ugly.
The Corn Trophy.
We were talking.
Megaphone. No, Land Grant Trophy. Right.
Yeah, Land Grant Trophy.
So we will be playing for this knockoff replica 5 by 8 by 14 inch trophy. So the loser of this year's bet will buy it, send it to the winner, and then from then on, you just have to pay for postage.
Yeah, just gotta send it back and forth.
Like the
and you've got to display it prominently in your adult home.
Prominently in your adult home. I already know where I would put it. It would go like right there.
It would go right here, right on my desk, right there.
There you go. So I think that's the thing that we can't really cold close on a video because that just makes it seem like the thing cut out.
Can we? Like, why can't we?
Yeah, no, you guys are trying to censor me. You won't let me get all of my views out. I've got some very interesting takes on Kyrie Irving related material.
I'll just
good night, everybody.